Thank you for having us. I'm excited to be here today with you all representing the L&S Mentor Program. I'm talking with you all today about creating community in a remote environment. I think we're used to the college experience, being, meeting new people and socializing and really taking it all in, especially in the Bay Area. And it's really unfortunate that we can't participate in that in its physical form. So how can we recreate that in a virtual setting? So that was the motivation behind creating this webinar, was to give you some guidance on how you can still facilitate those kinds of interactions and maintain community even though we're isolated. So who am I? I am Alyssa Borman. I am a grad mentor as a part of the Letters and Sciences Grad Mentor Program, where we advise undergraduates on various topics from time management to, making decisions about choosing a major, as well as whether or not to go to grad school, or networking those interactions between grad students and faculty in their courses. But outside of that, I am a graduate student at UC Berkeley. I'm in my 5th year in the Department of Molecular and Cell Biology. So I'm going strong. 5 years at Cal. So I wanted to do a check-in question in the chat to see where people are located in the world. I've seen this as like a common check-in question places. Some people are in Berkeley. I'm in Berkeley. I was in LA for the first couple of months, staying with family, but I'm back in Berkeley. So I'm wondering where everybody else is coming from. Oh, nice. Awesome. Yeah, fellow LA. Awesome, Berkeley. We've got a few people that came back to Berkeley for school. Awesome. Well, welcome, San Diego. Nice. So it seems that everyone is on West Coast time. Good. I'm glad nobody is up early or late. That's always nice. Okay. So to get started here, I want to talk about what makes a community work. And thinking about community and like the community that I've surrounded myself by, whether it's, family or friends, is just finding people who are going to be honest and help you set positive intentions and kind of be a positive influence in your life. I like to think of them as the people that you can turn to or fall back on when things are hard, but also the people who get you excited and who motivate you. And who foster a feeling of genuine connection amongst each other, right? It's not a superficial relationship. It's like a deep, honest relationship. And it's really important for us to have these communities and to make these connections because ultimately it motivates us. It helps keep us motivated to our obligations, whether that's, our job, our work, our coursework, taking care of ourselves, and then working together towards our established goals, whether that's a community goal or whether that's a personal goal. It's really nice to have, partners that can hold you accountable to the achievements that you want to accomplish in your life. So to start out, I want to put you all into a breakout room, and I want you to think about this question before I put you in the room, is what does community look like to you? So you can kind of think about that on your own right now. Like what are you imagining? Like who are the people in your life, in your community? What place do they hold? What are they offering you and what are you offering them? And then I'm going to go ahead and put you into a breakout room and see if there are any common themes. that come out of your discussion in what your community looks like to you right now. Oh, I am having trouble locating the breakout room, Yaya.
Let's see. I can, it might be that only the host can create that, so I will make you the primary host.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, and then just let me know if you get access after that. And if you could make me a co-host just so I could.
Yeah. Make you back a co-host. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, so back to, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question, so the question is, for your breakout rooms, what does community look like to you? And then C, what are some common themes that arise from your discussions? Hello and welcome back. So does someone want to volunteer to share what they discussed in their breakout room on what community looks like to you?
I'll volunteer. My group and I, we talked about how usually one of the most common factors that we look forward to in a community is a sense of belonging and supporting one another. That's something that you can expect to give and receive in return from your community. So I would probably say that's one of the most important ones that we discussed.
Yeah, I really love that. I know myself, like when I've struggled both in undergrad and grad school, it really helped to surround myself by friends who made me feel like, you know, I belong there and that I shouldn't give up and I just need to keep on pushing through. It's really important.
I'll share what my group said. We kind of had a hard time like articulating it into like one sentence, but we said that it can be like a really general or like big group of people, or it can be more small and personalized. But a common theme that they both have is that they both act as like a support group in one way or another. There's always someone there for you.
Yeah, and being able to build you up when you're feeling pretty low, and help keep you up, support you. I love that. That's really great. So were there any like when you think about community, do you think of any like struggles or hardships that you might face with like community expectations?
Were you asking me specifically, or
I'm asking general?
Oh.
Yeah. Well, if you want to speak to it, please.
No, I didn't know if it was like you were waiting for me or something. But can you repeat the question?
Are there any like hardships or expectations that you see within your community?
I'll let her go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, at least in my life, a lot of the time, what like bounds a community together is the struggles and hardships that we both go through. That's what relates us together, which kind of sounds like it would seem like sad or like, I don't know, depressing, but it really isn't. It actually helps a lot to have those systems of support and people who can relate to what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Wendy. I think that's a big part of helping support your community is being open and being a little vulnerable, and that can help with how much you can support. I was also going to mention, I think putting yourself out there to be a part of your community and to welcome your community can be difficult for me and for other people. It's almost like kind of like being extroverted, or maybe that's what it looks like for me. That can be a little intimidating sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also like being vulnerable, it takes a lot of energy to give that. It takes a lot of energy to be extroverted, to kind of reach out to people and almost always feel like you're reaching out to people to maintain those connections. And so, you know, while we want to build community and stay close to people and have these honest relationships, it's also really important for us to take care of ourselves and set up healthy boundaries. And so, and the same is true with remote interactions. So it's completely okay to take a break and reschedule, you know, that Zoom event or completely cancel an activity. And if you're not feeling the camera, you can turn it off and just kind of be there, you know, with audio and with voice without having to worry about looking in the camera. And or even doing like a video call with your friends. Like you don't have to have the video on. And I found myself switching back to just talking to them on the phone and just having my phone and having them on speaker and just talking that way, because I get so exhausted staring at a screen. Or even doing snail mail, like writing letters to friends or family, so that way you can have that connection and have that communication, but you're stepping back from the screen. And so it is important, you know, that in creating this community structure, that, you know, part of being honest and being vulnerable is also communicating your personal needs and recognizing when you need to take a break and not being afraid to ask for that. And be encouraged doing that, and, you know, and also giving your friends the opportunity to cancel themselves, you know, and not taking it personally because you understand what it's like to be in that position. So I wanted to go over next some examples of ways that we can kind of stay connected in the virtual world. And so the first set topics that I wanted to talk about revolve around community in the academic setting. And this, you know, we can find in clubs or in study groups, or one platform that I really like called Piazza. So has anyone not heard of Piazza before? You can use like the like emoji or something if you've never
I'm
heard
not
of
sure what that
Piazza.
is.
Yeah, Piazza. So Piazza is a really great online forum that your professor can create for a class. So if you don't have one already set up, I would strongly advise asking your professors to get set one up for your class, because it's like a virtual classroom where you can ask and answer questions with your classmates. And you can form independent study groups with your classmates, and sometimes the response that you get back is a lot quicker than like emailing a faculty member, right? Because they're not on there 24/7, but often students are checking Piazza constantly because they either want to see what questions are being asked, or they want answers to their own questions. And so it's a really helpful study tool to review material, but also to stay connected with your class in a virtual setting. If your class doesn't have Piazza set up, or your professor doesn't want to set one up, then maybe you can, you know, start an online discussion forum in your B courses group. So I really like Piazza. I actually have a YouTube video embedded that when you guys get a copy of this presentation, you can watch a video on YouTube and what Piazza has to offer. I taught this past summer and I used Piazza with my students, and they absolutely loved it, you know, because it was a 100% online class from start to finish. And they were on it every day, talking to their classmates and creating study groups, so that way they could review material or going over homework questions together. And so I highly recommend Piazza. The other group, you know, it's a little bit more fun. It's not, you know, steering away from study, is clubs. And so clubs are still active. And so I'm not sure if you all had the opportunity to go to Calapalooza, where they, you know, did kind of like a Zoom intro and videos of the different clubs that are available. And so you can go, I also included a link there, which will take you to the Lead Center. And so you can look up events, and so you can pop in to see what different events are happening on, you know, online, off campus, but still related to the university. Take this opportunity to kind of pursue interests and talk to people in something that you had always maybe thought about doing, but just never had the time for. So they have events, different organizations, like news, and stay up to date with what's going on there. The next question that I'm going to set you guys up for your breakout rooms is, how do you think you could use these tools to help you stay connected in an academic setting? Okay, welcome back. So could I get maybe 2 people, 1 from each room, to share with what you guys discussed or what you guys came up with on how you think you could use these tools to help stay connected in an academic setting?
Sure. My group said that, or I said in the group that it's helpful to like be in clubs that are like relative to your major, if that makes sense. So like if you're studying biology in like some type of bio club, because a lot of the students will probably be taking the same classes as you, or they may be a year or 2 years older. So they have already taken those classes, and maybe you can find like some type of mentor, but you'll be able to have that help, whether it's like on homework or like something like that. You can have that support in that club.
Yeah, that's a fantastic, example of an academic community to give you support in succeeding. Finding someone who took the class before you and asking, how did you study for this, or what tips do you have for me, or what resources did you find were the most useful. So that's a really good strategy of like networking within those clubs. Did anyone discuss any like new tools or different ideas for academic setting?
Yeah, and I brought up in my group that it almost feels like Piazza is used mainly in STEM courses, and so like as a humanities student, I've seen that WhatsApp links have become pretty popular in them, which is pretty helpful in the sense that like that the professor isn't in the chat, so you feel more like freedom to post like, did y'all have any idea what he just said, or like things that like might upset the professor if you were to see the message, yeah, that's how we've been connected. And like when assignments are coming up, it's pretty useful to like know that you could just like resort to the link or the WhatsApp chat and ask questions to your peers there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's another really good example. Yeah, it makes sense to use WhatsApp, to use a messaging app to just kind of immediately, text your classmate like, hey, when does that assignment due? Or like, hey, like, I don't really understand this question, or yeah, like what did he just say? Like, I don't know. Or even, what I've found, again, because I taught this past summer, is that some of my students would have internet issues and they wouldn't be able to get into the Zoom room, to get on the chat, or to get into the classroom. But because they were, chatting in their group chat with their classmates, one of them can say like, hey, oh, they can't make it in right now because the Zoom isn't opening, but they're trying to get in. And then on my end, I can see what I can do to try to let them back in. So it's really good to have that line of communication with your classmates. That's great. And so for beyond academic, I also have WhatsApp. So I use WhatsApp to stay connected with my friends from back home, back in LA. And we do movie nights together, so that's pretty fun. We don't use Netflix Party. We do a very like archaic way where we call each other on the phone, and then we just count down 3, 2, 1, and then we press play at the same time because we all have Hulu. Virtual games, trivia, or house party. These ones are really fun. House party you can get as like an app on your phone, and then it sends you a notification anytime like your friends check into the room. So sometimes I'll see like, oh, Victoria's in the room. Like, oh, like I have a couple minutes. Let me go like play. Like there's like an apples to apples type game in there, and so that's a lot of fun. I had another friend who put together a climbing trivia because we climbed together, and so that was really fun. She put like a PowerPoint up on Zoom, kind of like how I'm doing this presentation. And so we had teams and we could like answer the different questions about climbing. One thing that's been going really strong for another group of friends and I is Zoom cooking, where each week a different friend, it's their turn to like host. And so they send out a list of ingredients, and so each of us get our ingredients. And then on Wednesday night we come together and the host tells us what to do. So it's like our own little like personal cooking show, and that's been a lot of fun. I also participated in a book club this summer. messaging channels, whether that's Slack or WhatsApp. I use Slack more for like my professional communications with my coworkers, and then WhatsApp for my friends. And then there's also virtual hangouts going on. So if you want to meet people, you know, outside of academia, I know Facebook is doing virtual hangouts as well as Meetup. And it's a great way to get to know people, you know, in the Bay Area who share similar interests, and just kind of chime in and meet those people in a virtual setting. So do you guys have any of your own examples to share that I didn't talk about here?
There's one comment on the chat, and it's from the Among Us game. Can you share?
Oh, what's that one? Yeah, I've never heard of that.
It's like a game where it's like sort of like Mafia. And so what I do is like I'm the host in the game, and then I sort of like give everyone the code. And so we all play, and then what we've been adding is like we use Zoom to sort of like talk. And so we just sort of like try to see who's the imposter, that's what it's called, to see who's the one killing other people. And so it's really fun. I like that one.
Oh, that sounds like so. Yeah, I've played it before with or like a Mafia type game with playing cards, but that sounds so cool. Like having it as like an app and being able to electronically like assign people roles.
There was one other comment for Pictionary. Y'all want to talk about that? Or Gracie?
Yeah, you put the link that I use, the scribble.io. Me and my friends sometimes like Zoom and then just play that, and we can share screen or not. But it's just like a fun, kind of easy activity to do with friends.
Oh, yeah, that's really sweet. Yeah, it's like very, very creative with drawing. Yeah, I tried to do a virtual paint night, like a wine and paint thing. I'm not like that creative. So there was no instruction involved, but it's like, hey, let's like get together with some like art supplies, and we could just like talk to each other in this space and like color some stuff. and it is a nice activity. I like that. Okay, so then my next breakout room for y'all is to reflect on last semester and this summer, and then looking forward, you know, to the upcoming semester. And what do you feel worked and didn't work with respect to, you know, maintaining or building your community from last semester? And then what do you plan to change moving forward? You know, because we're still at the relative beginning of this semester. So what, you know, positive light are we going to shed on this semester in maintaining our communities? So I'll go ahead and put you back in your breakout rooms. Okay, and welcome back, everybody. So if I could get a few volunteers to share what they discussed in their rooms with what they think worked and didn't work from last semester.
In my breakout room, we talked about how we were a little reluctant and a little too scared and hesitant to reach out last semester to our peers and our friends. And then in my case, I brought up how I thought that the pandemic was going to be over in a couple weeks. And so what I thought was going to be 1 month, and I was telling everyone like, okay, I'll see you next month. I'll see you later after the pandemic ends. Well, it's been 6 months now and haven't seen them still. So actually reaching out and doing those Zoom calls and those FaceTime calls has made a big difference. Not putting things off, basically.
Yeah, I know. I also felt that way. Like, oh, okay, it's just gonna be like a month, like a few weeks to slow the curve or just push it back a little bit and like spread it out over time. And 6 months later, but I do find myself calling people more often and even feeling a little bit more connected, because I'm holding myself accountable to making those phone calls, because it really makes you puts things in perspective on you don't know. That might be the last time you see someone. So I'm definitely just being more connected with my family in that way. Can we get maybe one more example?
Yeah, I was in the same breakout room, but another thing that we mentioned is that what didn't work is the fact that we, and the people in my group at least, we weren't very consistent with our schedule. So like we would have classes, but we'd be like, no, we'll just watch the Zoom recording tomorrow. Or we would just wake up at whatever time we felt like it that day. And so this semester, we're all trying to, stay consistent with our schedule. Wake up at the same time and not miss our live Zoom classes and actually attend to keep us motivated.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, because it's really hard to stay engaged when you're just, watching a video or you're watching a recording of something. But I think when you're actually in the live lecture, it helps kind of hold yourself accountable. But then within this community, within this academic community, whether it's your classmates or whether it's your friends, or other undergrads, and saying, no, I'm getting up and I'm getting on Zoom for my 9 a.m. class, even though I could be sleeping or I could be doing something else. Because you don't want to put it off, and you don't want it to have it all pile up and then watch all these recordings back to back and then just be exhausted and drained from having to binge watch your chemistry lecture or your history lectures, right before the exam. Definitely not what you want to be doing right now. And so for the last breakout room, you guys can go ahead and discuss what are some remaining concerns regarding cultivating community in your life. And then we'll meet back in the main room out of the breakout room to discuss those. Hello and welcome back, everybody. So our question was, what are some remaining concerns regarding cultivating community in your life? If we could get 3 volunteers to share what they discussed in their rooms.
Hi. So something that I brought up was that I am having trouble like making sure that I stay connected like on my own. Like I think I know I have a couple of group chats with like my friends, and like I know that they text a lot to the group chats, but sometimes like I just don't have like the energy or like the capacity to like answer at the time. So I think it's trying to figure out like how to make people know that they're valuable to me, even though I'm not like, you know, I don't text all the time or I don't call them all the time or whatever. So I think that's a concern that I am trying to work on and communicate with them.
Mm. Yeah, it's hard. And then sometimes I think to myself, oh, like whenever I'm thinking of someone, oh, I should shoot them a message. And then I get to doing like a million different things and I never actually message them. And so I'm trying to be more intentional about if I'm thinking about someone, just shooting them a text message like, hey, thinking of you, miss you, like have a great day. Or if I see something that reminds me of them, I'll like take a picture and then send it to them and say like, hey, look at this, it reminded me of you.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. Like I tell people to have a good day all the time. But that is like that is my contribution to the chat. I'm like, hey everyone, have a good day. Like make sure you eat breakfast or something.
Yeah, it's simple, but it means a lot. Like when I get those messages from my friends, like, oh, someone's thinking about me. It could be just that simple. And it really feels good. Are there any other challenges that people are experiencing or concerns?
My group talked about something similar, just like getting too comfortable being alone, because COVID like really necessitates that you are isolated from kind of the outside world. So we were just talking about how we're kind of getting a little too comfortable just staying, alone in our apartments. And we also talked about just like with everything that's going on with the pandemic, with the smoke and the fires, just maintaining mental health, like inside and outside of communities, is a concern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And not keeping, all of this frustration and anxiety pent up, and just, calling your friend and being like, the world sucks right now and I don't know what to do with myself. Can we just like cry for a minute together? I have those days a lot. Yeah, the fires are really hard because it's like you can't be outside. Like you can't even be in the fresh air. And so you're literally stuck inside, not being able to interact with anybody and not being able to go anywhere and not being able to get away. And it was, yeah, it can make someone go crazy if they're not like checking in with their community. So thank you very much for sharing your guys's responses. So to wrap things up, just wanted to share with you the 5 other mentors that are a part of the L&S Mentor Program. And if you want to, we are also a community that you can reach out to and that you can be a part of. So you can schedule an appointment with us. We have office hours throughout the week, almost every day, in the morning and afternoon. So if you want to check in and say like, hey, I'm having a hard time, going to my classes at the time that I'm supposed to, or like all of the recordings are building up and I need to rethink my schedule. Or I'm having trouble, reaching out to classmates to form study groups. I have this imposter syndrome, like I shouldn't be here, and if I reach out to them, then they're gonna see that I'm not smart enough to be here, and that scares me. Or if you want to, talk about how do I network, how do I navigate getting internships and setting myself up for my career when like nothing is open right now. So we're more than happy to have those conversations with you and help navigate you in the best direction so that way you can be successful.